Especially we start a method with the background. Okay, what is the background? In 1929, the Coleman report commented that reading-based approaches of foreign language teaching and reading comprehension is the main way of teaching foreign language, where repeat silent reading is encouraged. Sometimes teachers discuss the content of the reading text in English, for the reason of which some linguists like Darien in 1972 called audiolingualism or audiolingual method is a modified direct method. Actually, grammar translation method started its journey with the aspect of reading and writing, and opposite to grammar translation method, we have got second method, that is direct method. In direct method, it is said that no reading will be there, reading comprehension will be there, however interaction will be there, and no native language will be there. But next time we have got another method that can be called a alternative version of direct method, and that is called audiolingualism. Audiolingualism. So it's a systematic approach to treat sentence pattern, grammar and vocabulary in applied applied audiolingualism. Audiolingualism, that is audio, you will listen something and then you will try to produce something. Listen something and produce something. Not much emphasis was given to grammar, sentence pattern, vocabulary for beginning, intermediate and advanced learners. Okay. So just like the direct method, in this method, that means audiolingualism, there is not much emphasis on grammar. Grammar will not be there. Okay, just like the direct method. Grammar and grammatical rules, that is not important for this method, audiolingualism. And actually, historical background of audiolingualism goes back to the US entry to the Second World War. That is the core background of audiolingualism. US entry to the Second World War had a significant impact on foreign language teaching in America. Why? US government was trying to have officers who were fluent in German, French, Italian, Chinese and Japanese, Malay and other languages. After the entry of United States of America in the Second World War. Why? It was a world war, and in that world war, actually many soldiers from the country, they are using language, not the English language. They are using German, French, Hungarian, Italian, Malaysian. Okay, but the language was delivered in their native language. The US Army couldn't understand their message. Okay, suppose attack, move back, they will not say in English, they will say it in German. So the American Army had the necessity, and US government necessity, in order to be successful in the Second World War, there are some interpreters that are crucially needed, who can understand the soldiers' language. They are using German, French and Italian and Chinese language. Okay, so that is there, and for this reason, assistant, code room assistant and interpreter, code room assistant, especially in the World War, naturally messages are not delivered in the direct language. Actually code switching, we know, that is the code. There will have some code, and that code can be decoded by the other man. What does that code mean? So the code room assistant and also the translation, they are needed. Who needed? That means US government and US Army as well. To fill up the demand of US Army, it was necessary to set up a special language training program in America. So this is their requirements. Actually need analysis. What is their need? That is the US government and the US Army, they wanted that they will be having translator, code room assistant. And in which language? German, Italian, French, Chinese and Japanese. US government commissioned American universities to develop foreign language teaching programs for military personnel. So they had a special language training program that was the necessary in their perspectives after the entry of US in the Second World War. And for this reason, US government declared that the scholars, linguists develop a method that can teach our soldiers quickly the target language or the foreign language. And an Army Specialist Training Program, ASTP, Army Specialist Training Program, was launched, and that was in 1942, in which 55 American universities, they were involved in the process. What is the process? That means US government wanted a quick language learning method, and that commission was declared by the US government. And after that, 55 American universities, they involved in the process of having an Army Specialist Training Program. For what? For foreign language learning and teaching. Good. The objective of Army program was to attain the conversational proficiency in a variety of language that we have told, that is conversational fluency. In GTM, we had the necessity of reading and writing. In direct method, they had the necessity of speaking and listening. Okay, but here they want to have the capability, that means the US government and the US soldier, they wanted to have the conversational quality of the language, and that can be also called the applied linguistics. That means language you will learn and you will apply that language in conversation. And for this reason, grammar is not so much important in case of this method. Leonard Bloomfield at Yale University is a famous top-ranked university in USA. Out of 20 in US world ranking, always that is ranked. So that Yale University professor Leonard Bloomfield developed a foreign language training program, but textbook was unavailable. So he developed, he said that the Yale University professor Leonard Bloomfield, he said that yes, if we can follow a method. But he failed to provide the textbook. What would be the textbook? What is with the syllabus? Because we know that in case of method, we have to have syllabus, method, and the other perspectives. Bloomfield technique was known as the informant method. Informant method, where our native speakers become the informant. Informant, that means from which you will get information. Who will be the informant? That means the native language speakers. Native language speakers of which language? Which language you wanted or you want to learn? You want to learn French language, just for an example. So the French native speaker will be the informant. And who was the source of phrase, vocabulary, sentence, and grammar? So the native language speaker of French, German, or any language, he will be the informant, and he will be delivering especially the phrase and the vocabulary. Why? The necessity is that they want to have the conversational quality of language learning. They want to make conversation with others, especially in lots of languages. Whereas a linguist was assigned to supervise as well as to elicit the basic structure of the language. Basic structure, that means sentence will follow a basic structure. So if you fool, may I have your attention, please? It is a full sentence, and it has a structure, isn't it? But the conversational English will not be the full sentence. May I have your attention, please? The conversational English, please, attention, please. So attention, please, that means the vocabulary is needed and also the phrase is needed, not sentence is needed. So that is the core point of audiolingualism. It is not necessary to linguists to know the language, however, to reduce the basic structure. So reducing the basic structure, just they are teaching vocabulary and phrase in order to have effective communication and very short and prompt communication. So if I say that may I have your attention, please, that would be a sentence, and it will take, of course, more time. A fragment, in case of word or in case of conversation, the other will not give you so much time. You have to gain the attention within a word or phrase. So that was the necessity. Learners and the linguist were to take part in the guided conversation. Guided conversation in the presence of informant. Who is the informant? That means the native speakers, teachers. He will be the source of what? Phrase and vocabulary. So the take part in the guided conversation. Guided conversation, you know that we know the definition of conversation. Conversation will be there, that is you people will be conversing with one another. That is the conversation. But here in audiolingualism, guided conversation. Conversation will be there, but the informant, the native speaker of the target language will be the informant. The informant will guide the conversation. That means which conversation they will learn. And that would be effective. Which is necessary and which conversation is this. So the guided conversation will be there. And gradually learner how to use the basic language as well as the understand the basic grammar of the language. So through the learning the phrase or the vocabulary of the language, especially for the conversational purposes, they will have also understand the basic structure of the language. So we can't say that audiolingualism is deducting the structure, deducting the all structure, but it is there in the format of phrase and conversation. And learners study 10 hours a day, 6 days in a week, 5 hours drill with 15 hours drill with native speakers, 20 to 30 hours of private study. In 2 to 3 to 6, 2 to 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 week session. So it is a compact session. Why? They had a requirement, that means we have to train the learner, the speakers quickly. And that term is called Army Specialist Training Program. That was initiated, and for this reason intensive training. Intensive means 10 hours a day, 6 days in a week, and 15 hours drill with the native speakers. So in a week 15 hours you have to drill. Just like robotic you will be there. Can it be possible to pass in such an impact training program? Audiolingualism actually resulted. They want quick result. They was fighting among the soldiers. They want have result. They wanted to have result very quickly, and for this reason they initiated this 2 week or 3 weeks program. 2 weeks or 3 weeks program. So drill will be there. And army method lasted only for the 2 years. Okay. So after getting such kind of that became successful, and also many army officers, they got training and they became efficient. They became the courtroom assistant. They became the interpreter. They became the translator to overcome the problems. What is the problem? They have to translate the French, German, Chinese and other language at the time of Second World War. Okay. Next 10 years after that, Malia, would you please keep your mobile phone in bag, please? Everybody. Next 10 years, linguists discussed the suitability of army method in grammar language training program. So the background is that US government and the US army officers, they had the necessity to learn language quickly within 2 to 3 weeks. And 50 American universities designed that language program, that is Army Specialist Language Program. And for this reason, audiolingualism had another name, that is called Army-based army method. Okay. So the next 10 years, linguists discussed the suitability of the army method. So after the Second World War, everybody was discussing the efficiency of second language acquisition. What happened to your mouth? Yeah, you. Yeah. Okay. Is this your speaker? So why do you put your hand in your mouth? Keep it in front of you. Okay. So army, next 10 years, the army method. That means at the time of the Second World War, army method got popularity. But next 10 years, the linguists, they had been discussing the suitability of the Army Specialist Training Program. And linguists say that there is no basic difference between direct method and army method. So in case of Direct method, what is the positive side? The positive side that native speakers, teachers are needed. And if it is not possible, that native like fluency will be needed just to have conversation, and no native language will be used as a medium of instruction. That was the background of direct method. So drill will be there. In the same way, in audiolingualism there will be the drill of 15 hours a day and 6 days in a week with the help of the native speakers, and the native speakers will be the informant of all sources of language learning. So many linguists say that there is no basic difference between direct method and audiolingualism and army method. So army method. They also say that these are the oral based approach of language teaching and learning where there is no theory. They say that actually there is no theory. Actually we know that in every method there is a theory. So the linguists, they criticize that there is no theory behind audiolingualism. Becoming the major international power, America felt the growing demand of foreign expertise of the teaching foreign language. Okay. So after the victory in the Second World War, okay, next time America had the necessity to develop a language teaching methods or approaches. And thousands, why? After the Second World War, thousands foreign students entered US universities for higher studies, many of whom were required to attend English training program before they start their studies. Okay, after the Second World War, America became the supreme power. Not only that, at present they are getting that US education will be the highest. Okay, out of the 100 top ranked university, most probably 60 or 70% is from US. And for this reason, after the Second World War, they become the superpower, not only in economic, political power, economic power, military power, and education. They had been offering much education. And for this reason, many foreign students had been entering to US. So the students, they didn't have the proficiency in language, and for this reason many students are asked to attend the pre-studies language program. So the US government had the necessity that they should have a language program, and these factors led to the emergence of American approach to ESL, English as a second language, and which by the mid 1950 decades had become audiolingualism. So after the Second World War, there had been necessary information that they had to teach. That means US government had to teach a bulk number of foreign students, and for this reason they developed this method. And before 1950 decades, at the end or the middle of the 1950 decades, that method they offered that can be called audiolingualism. So audiolingualism is a brainchild of America's 55 universities. It is a quick language learning and teaching program that initiated the learners to learn the language within 2 to 3 weeks with extensive drill, with the help of informant. And informant, who would be the informant? That is the foreign first language speakers or native language speakers. So back in 1939, University of Michigan developed the first English language institute in the United States, and it emphasized the training of the teachers on English as a foreign language as well as the teaching language as a second or the foreign language. So they also initiated the teachers training in that process. That means back in 1939. And at the time, the director of the institute was Charles Fryer, that means American Institute of Foreign Language or Learning, who initiated principles of structural linguistics in language teaching. Fries and his colleague rejected the principle of direct method and many an army method in which learners are exposed to language first and then absorb the grammar gradually. Okay, so the Friars rejected the method. That means the direct language has been following and the audiolingualism had been following. For Friars, grammar and structure are the starting point of learning second or foreign language. Okay, so a systematic attention was to be given sentence and pronunciation by this intense drill of basic sentence patterns. So Friar, actually audiolingualism started in the second half of the 1950 decades, but with the focus of conversation. but less focus on grammar and structure. But prior, he wanted to put some emphasis on pronunciation and grammar at least. Okay, this one. And Hostet says it is the basic pattern that constitute the learner's task, that is the grammar and the structure. And they require drill, drill and more drill. Drill, drill and more drill. Only enough vocabulary to make such drill possible. Why such kind of drill is necessary? Okay, this is the necessary for this purpose, that the drill, just like the parrot. It is observed. Parrot can talk, but how parrot can talk? Repeat, and every day. And it is observed that if a parrot hears a word 4,000 times, then the parrot can memorize the word. And the hot word, that means if you tell Mitu, what are you doing? Mitu, what are you doing? Mitu, what are you doing? So if you say it 4,000 times, then the parrot will memorize and install in its brain, and it will start. And for this reason, in audiolingualism, that is drill, drill and drill, more drill, 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 drill and more drill. Okay, and this drill, with the help of this drill only, and what they would be drilling? Only enough vocabulary to make such drill possible. Only enough vocabulary. What is needed? So if you put a passage or a paragraph in drill, then that would not be possible. So in case of the drill, only the vocabulary that would be needed for the conversation, the core word, phrase or the vocabulary for the conversation. Not only Michigan University was involved in the language teaching innovation, but other universities like Georgetown University in USA, American University, Washington DC University, and the universities of Texas and Austin were involved in increasing and supervising the English language teaching program. So they had been initiating, after getting that idea of audiolingualism, that means drill, drill and more drill, they had been trying. So other universities, they had been trying to improve the quality of language learning and teaching, especially the foreign language learning and teaching with their knowledge. Okay. In 1950, the American Council of Learned Societies, under the contact of US State Department, was commissioned. The State Department প্রতিদিন আমরা কি দেখি brief দেখি আর কি. So the State Department was commissioned to develop textbooks for teaching English to the speakers to the wide number of foreign languages. Emphasis was given to pronunciation, morphology, grammar, followed by the drill and exercise. So they said that means not only the drill will be enough for learning and teaching foreign language. So after the drill, we have to do some other things. What are the things? That is pronunciation, morphology and grammar of it. So if you make a effective conversation, of course you can eradicate the necessity of morphology, pronunciation and grammar. So with that drill that was followed, that we have to know the minimum or standard pronunciation and morphology and the grammar rules. Okay. And linguists initiated the guidelines, which next known as the general form. For what? That means for audiolingualism, the linguist, the guidelines, what is related to? The guidelines can be the principles and the objectives of audiolingualism. Okay. So if it is said that what is the objectives of audiolingualism, that means the list of linguists, they developed some principles. What are the principles? The structural note and corpus, a basis for the preparation of the materials to teach language as a foreign language. Okay, so that is developed by the American Council of Learned Societies in 1952. And this became the influential documents for developing English courses for speakers of 10 different languages. The famous spoken language series published between 1953 and 1956. So that was the things. So in that case, so we have got the principles and the background of audiolingualism. And next time, they developed methodologies. So methodologies used by US linguists and language teaching experts were quite similar to the British oral approach. And though the two traditions developed independently, so British oral approach and America, they had been developing a method, what is audiolingualism, but in British at that time, simultaneous British also took part in the Second World War. They had been designing actually the GTM, that was the brainchild of the Latin English language teaching, and next time direct method, that was initiated in Britain. And after direct method, Britain had been developing another method. What is that? Is the oral approach. Okay, so Britain, the oral approach was going on, in the same time America, the audiolingualism was going on. So Fry's book, Teaching and Learning English as a Foreign Language, suggested that foreign language learning problems can be solved by consulting the structure and the phonological difference between native language and the target language. And constructive analysis of two different languages will discover problems which can be solved carefully prepared teaching materials. Okay, so that's a major concern was initiated in American applied linguistics, the systematic comparison of English with other languages with a view towards solving the fundamental problems of foreign language teaching. So in audiolingualism, they had been initiating some pattern that can be put in parallel. French, English, English, German. In such a way, they developed such kind of methods. And the approach developed by linguists at Michigan and the other universities called oral approach, or oral. That means listening and speaking approach, or the structure approach, and it advocates oral training first and then pronunciation training, followed by speaking, reading and writing. So in audiolingualism, it can have another name, that is Army Specialist Language Program, or you can call it Army method, or you can call it oral approach, or you can call it structural approach. So what would be the structure? What would be the methodology? First thing, they will be putting focus on pronunciation, and after the pronunciation, the other component will be there: speaking, listening, reading and writing. So pronunciation will be the first things. And through the audiolingual approach, language was taught in the US in 1950 decades. And the classroom materials were produced by Friars and the other linguists at Yale and Cornell, another university. Yale University and the Cornell University, they had been developing the classroom materials that means the teaching materials for audiolingualism. And next time, the theoretical involvement of audiolingual approach were discussed. Though there was no explicit reference to then the current language theory of the Friars' work, in mid-1950 decades, audiolingualism get links to a state-of-the-art psychological learning theory in it. So, and actually, this emergence of audiolingualism method resulted from the increased attention given to foreign language learning and teaching. Actually, for the we have said that is it was a necessity that they have to learn language, and also they have to learn it very quickly for the quick approach that audiolingualism developed in America. And the launching of the first Russian satellite in 1957 acknowledged US need for a more intensive effort to teach foreign language. Actually, after the Second World War, actually the foreign politics, especially the world policy, was increasing. So the satellite launching by Russia, so that was also an indication. That means they had to teach so many languages. So if Russia launched a satellite, they will be initiating in the Russian language, not English language. And in order to get the perspectives, English people or the US people, they had the necessity to learn French Russian language. So for the political turmoil, for the necessity of the foreign students, this America developed that method that is called Army method or audiolingual method. And the National Defense Education in 1958 provided funds for the study and analysis of modern language, and for the development of teaching materials, and for the training of the teachers. So next time they developed principles, syllabus, and the development of teachers, and also the materials and the teacher's role and the learner's role. Teachers were encouraged to attend summer institutes to improve their knowledge of foreign language. So they started teachers training at that time, and many institutes offered the teachers training. So gradually America developed teacher's role, learner's role, principles, and the other things relating to audiolingualism. And this way, that is, language teaching specialists set about developing method that was applicable condition in US colleges and universities classroom. So at that time, after 1950 decades, audiolingualism started as a method of foreign language teaching in US universities and colleges. Okay, so the combination of the structural linguist theory contrastive analysis, oral procedures, and behaviorist psychology. Behaviorist psychology in which way? Led to audiolingualism method of foreign language teaching and learning. Behaviorist theory, that means the image we have seen, that is the image of parrot. Parrot said that repeat after me, repeat after me. That means what it actually happens. Actually, if you repeat a things many times, it will get in your brain and it will be a part of your behavior. Okay, so sometimes naturally we say that if you can't hear it somehow clearly, you can say that, oh, I can't hear it, or I can hear it. But at the time, if you say that sorry, without sorry, you can say with saying sorry, শুধু একটা সরি কথা বলার পরেই বলেই আপনি বুঝতে পারেন যে আপনি আপনার কথা আমি বুঝতে পারি না। কেউ একটা কথা বলছে, আপনি বললেন সরি, তো এই একটা জিনিস যখন বারবার আপনি করতে থাকবেন, that would be a part of your behavior. That is the concept of behaviorist theory of second language acquisition. So audiolingualism, the drill and extensive drill will be getting the part of your behavior, and for this reason audiolingualism is a method that is linked to a theory. What is the theory? That is the behaviorist theory of language. Through repetition, through drill, through more drill, that would be a part of your behavior, and after when it would be a part of your behavior, you can tell it spontaneously. If you put it in such a way every time, that is, it is not, someone said that yes, it has become a habit or behavior. You do it unconsciously. Many drivers, you will say that yeah, driving at Dhaka city, in Dhaka city is very tough, but many drivers you will see that they are smoking, they are talking, they are chewing the betel leaf, and they are driving the car, driving the bus in the busy road. Why? That means it has been a part of their behavior, and they can do it, and they are driving the car for more than 10 years or 15 years. So it has been the part of their behavior. In audiolingualism, the habit formation will be there, and how it would be habit of the behavior of the language learner? Through drill and excessive drill. That is the foreign language. And in this case, who is the originator of audiolingualism? Professor Lensenbrock. In 1964, he claimed to transfer language teaching from art to science, and which was enable learner to achieve mastery for the foreign language teaching. So Professor Lensenbrock can be called the pioneer of audiolingualism. So audiolingualism began to fall from the favor of the 1960 decades and in constitute to be used today. So these are the basic principles of audiolingualism, but it will have some necessity regarding the audiolingualism. It will have some benefits and it will have some other things. So what can be the definition of audiolingualism? If you go over there, it is in such a way that is surprisingly, this method, the new method, relied on the prevailing scientific method of the time, observation and repetition. So in audiolingualism, observation, repetition and drill will be there, and which was also admirably suited to teaching in mass, that means a number. Because of the influence of the military, early version of the audiolingualism came to be known as the army method. So audiolingualism will have other with another name. What is the name? That is audiolingualism. And for example, the teacher repeats a dialogue sentence such as I ate an apple, I ate an apple. She then supplies the prompt by saying banana. Okay, that means first time it will be said that I ate an apple, I ate an apple. Then when it would be learned, and next time in case of the apple, the informant will place another word. In case of apple, the informant will put banana. So I ate an apple, I ate an apple, I ate an apple, and next time I ate a banana. So the core word will be changed, and showing the structure in that sentence. Okay, so that is the audiolingual method, and there are some principles, the basic principles of audiolingualism. That is, language forms occur most naturally within a context. The native language should be kept apart in order to prevent the interference of the target language. The major role of the teacher is that of the model of the target language. These are the principles of audiolingualism, and also all students are active in the class. When there will be 15 hours drill with the help of the format, not every student will be sharpening on the mobile phone. They have to take part in the drill. Okay, and every student's eye will be fixed on the native language format, and informant will be drilling. So every language, every learners will be active. That is the learner's role in audiolingualism. There is no way that the learners will not be taking part in the drill. So all students are active in the class. The circumstances class are more intensive and live, just like the phonetics class. Phonetics drill will be there. That means you will be repeating after the teachers. In the same way, the learners will be active and also the interesting and the live. And the speaking and the listening are more drilled. Speaking and listening. Why? Because audiolingualism started that they wanted to have quick result. 2 সপ্তাহ 3 সপ্তাহের মধ্যে একটা ইংরেজি শিখতে হবে। এইজন্য more speaking and listening was more important. So the pronunciation skill and listening skill are more controlled. Okay. So there are some advantages. What are the advantages? The communicative approach often seems to be interpreted. If the teacher understands the students, we have good communication. But native speakers of the target language can have great difficulty understanding the students. So in that case, there are some advantages and disadvantages will be there. Another disadvantages is that CLT approach focuses more fluency but not accuracy. So if we say that audiolingualism will make you efficient in conversation, but that conversation, if it is not focusing the grammar and pronunciation much, that it would not be accuracy, that is the core principles of GTM. But in direct method, just like the direct method, audiolingualism will be focusing on fluency, and focusing on fluency, it will give less importance on accuracy. So that is another disadvantage of audiolingualism. And no hit to communicative competence, main focus on language form, not on meaning. The learner assumes a passive role during the learning process. There is no equal focus on all 4 skills. Again, that's also the criticism. The audiolingualism, just like the direct method had been focusing on listening and speaking. In the same way, this audiolingualism had been focusing speaking and listening. So let's focus on reading and writing. So audiolingualism do not focus equally to the all 4 skills of language. So that is also one of the criticism of audiolingualism. So that is, yes, that is also a limitation. That means actually in case of GTM, it is manageable for the large number of class because teacher will be the model of GTM. But in other cases, conversation will be there and also the drill will be there, and for this reason intensive class will be necessary. Good. So that for this reason in audiolingualism, large students having large number of class having large number of students will also cannot be manageable in audiolingualism. So that is audiolingual method in brief. Okay. So if you have any questions, then we can have that questions. আছে সেটা ক্লাসের শেষে গিয়ে বোঝা যাবে। There is a method that is called eclectic method. Eclectic method means কোনো একটা স্পেসিফিক মেথড ফলো, যেমন গ্রামার ট্রান্সলেশন থেকে নিলেন, গ্রামার ট্রান্সলেশন থেকে ফলো করলেন রিডিং এবং স্পিকিং, রিডিং অ্যান্ড রাইটিং ডেভেলপ করার জন্য, আর direct method থেকে নিলেন হলো speaking and listening. So the combination of direct method and GTM method is called eclectic method. Eclectic means the teacher will apply the method what they will think appropriate, and that is called appropriate methods. Okay. So actually any other question? Any questions? Okay. So in brief, we can say that audiolingualism can be called army method, and after the entry of the US government in the Second World War, there was a necessity that we have a language learning, quick language learning training, and for this reason they started audiolingualism. But audiolingualism শুরু করেছে এই দ্বিতীয় বিশ্বযুদ্ধের মাঝখান থেকেই, কিন্তু it was not named so. Actually it was named audiolingualism by Professor Brock in 1964. So that is audiolingualism, and audiolingualism will have the principles, the teacher's role. Teachers will be the informant, teachers will be the native like fluency. Learner's role, learners will be active, and there is no way to not to take part in the conversation. And also there are some principles focus on pronunciation first, and next time grammar will be known, and of course it will have some advantages and disadvantages. Advantages is that is the habit formation, you can get the conversation, but disadvantages is that there is no theory, but we can also connect that in such a way that is it is connect to behaviorist theory of language learning. Okay. Any question? Any question 1? Any question 2? Any question 3? মনে হয় no question, মনে হয় না জয়যুক্ত হয়েছে।